The Denver Gazette is counting down the top 10 sports stories of 2023, excuse me. And today we start our countdown at number 10, and we're going to talk soccer. The Colorado Rapids kind of had probably one of their worst seasons, if not their worst season in history. And we'll talk a little Women's World Cup. So I'm joined by Dan Boniface, our digital editor and resident soccer fan. Dan, thanks for coming on. How are you today?
Pretty good. Yeah. Thanks for having me on. Definitely, looking at the Rapid season, probably the worst, I'd say in their history. So it was a rough one.
Yeah, so let's dive into that a little bit. They fired Robin Fraser during the season. They finished last in the Western Conference. They have the worst record in the MLS, or was it just the Western Conference?
Worst record in the Western Conference, and only Toronto FC had a worse record than them. So they did narrowly avoid winning the Wooden Spoon, which is sort of the award, if you can call it that, for the team that finishes with the worst record in MLS. So they were terrible, but they were not terrible enough to win that.
They were not wooden spoon terrible. I guess that's something to
Yeah.
say. So, uh, our colleague Vinny did a big story on kind of the dysfunction that was going on and just some different views going on within the organization. As someone who follows soccer, and I know you're a fan and go out to Dick's Sporting Goods Park, like what did you see from this club?
Um, so you know, looking at the way that they played, you know, when Robin Fraser was let go in August, it was their team president, Porg Smith, sort of cast it as they have this vision for how they want to play as an organization, and Robin Fraser had sort of deviated from that path. Is sort of the wording that they had used, and so the style of play had sort of become a little bit different from what they had wanted, what the front office had wanted. From my perspective, I just felt like the roster just wasn't good enough. It didn't seem like they had the players to sort of compete at that level, at the MLS level. So for me, I feel like this roster needs a major upgrade. Part of it was that it was a little bit out of their control, in that some of their key players were injured. Diego Rubio, who was their talisman in 2022, he had 16 goals in 2022. He was injured for much of the season, and so without him, their attack was really anemic. And then Jack Price, their captain, their defensive midfielder, who really was the glue of the team. He blew out his Achilles really early in the season. I think he only played like maybe 20 minutes the entire year. And so without those two key players, this roster was just really lacking in talent.
The team did have some growth under Frazier, though, right? Because they made the playoffs. But yeah, you talk about it, like they really seemed to struggle to score goals, to be very honest.
Yeah, they definitely did. They wanted to sort of rely on their speed, and they didn't really. I don't know. They weren't creating a lot of opportunities. They weren't finishing a lot of opportunities. It was just it was a rough season for them in terms of goal scoring. I mean, I think I don't have the stats in front of me, but I think they were the lowest scoring team in MLS.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
think so.
so um, so yeah, that was a major issue for them. They just weren't creating chances, and so they did bring in a new center forward, a Brazilian by the name of Rafael Navajo, and so I think they're hoping that he can sort of help turn that around a little bit next season. Um, and he's in on a loan that expires halfway through the season next season. So they're going to have to make a big decision on whether or not is this guy going to be like sort of their goal scorer, creator at number 9, the number 9 position going forward, and they're going to have to make a decision pretty quickly because it's I believe it's it's been reported that it's a $4.5 million purchase if they decide they want to continue on with him, going forward.
And of course, they have hired a new coach. His name is Chris Armas. Is that how you say it?
Chris Armas.
Armas. Oh, it's just Armas. Okay.
Yep.
So what does he bring to the team?
So he is really known for being a defensive midfielder throughout his career, and so I think he's going to bring sort of that energy. He's the places that he's been in the past, he's sort of been in systems that were already set up. So we haven't really seen what a Chris Armas team. I feel like what his vision is for how they want to play. But the Rapids have their mission statement out about this is the Rapids way and this is how we want to play. They say they want to play attacking, exciting, attacking, bold soccer. And so, I think that this probably sets up under Armas as like a 4-4-2 or a 4-3-3. But I think you're going to see 4 in the back. Robin Fraser a lot of times would play 3 in the back, 3 center backs in the back. But I think we're probably not going to see that as much going forward. And then it'll be interesting to see who are they going to bring in to help Armas sort of execute his vision for this team. He said in his introductory press conference that he wants to play exciting attacking soccer. So he seems like he's towing the company line on that. But I feel like he's going to need some more weapons on this roster than what they currently have. They're going to need to bring in a new number 6. Jack Price is gone. He's not coming back next season. So the number 6 options that they have at defensive midfield are a little bit lacking. I feel like at this point. So they need that, and then they need to probably bring in a creative attacking midfielder, either at a number 10 or maybe some new wingers, because they just don't really have a lot in the attack right now.
It definitely seems like it's going to be a big rebuild for them. And I want to ask you, people talk about the experience at Dick's Sporting Goods. It's a really cool experience. It's good to take the kids out there. Has this season, this recent downfall kind of soured this fan base? I know didn't they have a walkout this year? And it seems like it's really affected the fan base.
Yeah, it definitely has. I mean, you think about it, they have 17 home games this season. There were 18 when you counted the Leagues Cup, and the Rapids only won 3 of those games. I mean, it's not a good fan experience, for people like a season ticket holder who's paying for 18 games and they come out and they only see 3 wins. That's going to put a damper on anybody, So I think number one thing they can do to get back to a good fan experience is just putting a good product on the field. Results are going to drive higher attendance, in my opinion. But they have made some other changes around the stadium. They've added a new like field level terrace type of thing, or patio, I guess you'd call it. It's on the north end of the stadium. So they are adding some new things, but right now, I mean, yeah, you're right on with the way the fans are feeling about it. I mean, there was a walkout. I believe it was in September, where an entire section of the supporters group, Centennial 38, all walked out of the stadium. And all that was left behind were big banners that said the I think it was the players, the fans deserve better. Um, so we'll see. Oh, it was the crest or the club, the fans, the players deserve better. So it's going to be interesting to see if Chris Armas and the Rapids can win the fans back. He's already doing a lot of outreach to try and build that relationship back with the fans. He's hosting a meet and greet next week with the supporters group. So he's really trying to endear himself early and hear what the supporters what their concerns are, and show them that he's there to listen. And so we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
All right, so let's flip to a little bit more positive, and that's we had two Coloradoans play on the women's World Cup U.S. team, Lindsey Horan and Sophia Smith. The team fell in the round of 16, which was not the result they were looking for, of course. But both of them they both scored 2 goals each in the tournament. That was the only goals the U.S. scored in play. But what does that kind of mean to soccer in Colorado, and specifically women's soccer in Colorado?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, where would this team have been without the contributions of the Coloradans on the team? Yeah, it's just inspirational. You think of any soccer player here in Colorado, boy or girl. I feel like you look and you see on TV at the Women's World Cup these players from Colorado scoring goals. Lindsey Horan wearing the captain's armband. That's inspirational. That just tells kids that even though you're here living in Colorado, you can aspire to be playing at the World Cup. It's really fantastic. And as far as women's soccer goes, I feel like it's helped spur a little bit of momentum with there's this movement to sort of bring a top flight women's professional soccer team to Denver. And I feel like that's helped them get a little bit of momentum going with that.
And I mean, they're kind of the future now of the U.S. team as the other, like the more veteran players kind of phase out.
Yeah, that's true. Lindsey Horan and Sophia Smith. I mean, Sophia Smith is one of the top players in the world right now, and she's very young. And who knows, what the team would have done if they weren't missing a third Coloradan, Mallory Swanson, formerly Mallory Pugh. She had a knee injury right before the World Cup, and they really missed having her creativity and her attacking skill on that team. Who knows? Maybe they could have made a deeper run if they had that third Coloradan on the roster.
Yeah, yeah. But it seems like the future's bright, especially for them, and hopefully the future's bright for the Rapids as well. Dan, thanks for coming on and doing this with me. Make sure you go to denvergazette.com, as we will be counting these down towards the end of the year. And Dan, we will catch up with you again soon. Again, thanks for doing this.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on, Chris.